My journey with the story of JoJo's was mainly through the anime, and when I first caught up, the Diamond is Unbreakable part had already finished. At that point in time, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure was one of those weird, unique animes I loved. It was fun and it was absurd. I liked the over-the-top nature of the story, nothing much, nothing less. Then, part 5 came out, and it was still the same, save for the fact that it had one of my favorite fights of all time in anime and manga, which was Doppio vs Metallica. That's still one of the most unique and intense fights in anime for me. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure had fights, moments, or even characters that I would consider to be the greats in the medium, but when it comes to the whole package, it was at a good level and never reached that, oh my god, this is the best thing I've ever seen level. And there was a moment in time where I was reading a whole lot of manga, and I would go to manga rating sites to find highly acclaimed manga to read, and to my surprise, I would find JoJo's Part 7 Steel Ball Run ranked second on those manga rating sites. The first one always being Berserk. So for JoJo's part to be ranked second on this manga rating sites, it must be something really special. So I felt like I had to read this part before the anime actually came out, because I wanted to experience the manga first. The manga that everyone was saying was not only the base JoJo's part, but one of the best stories in manga. And it was on my to-read list, and I never quite got to reading it. Time passed by, and by then Stone Ocean anime had already wrapped up and years had gone by. And then key anime visuals started coming out for the Steel Ball Run anime. This finally gave me the push I needed to get me started on the Steel Ball Run journey, and then I did. The funny thing was, all this time I thought people liked Steel Ball Run because it was different from the rest of the JoJo's parts. I thought it was this beloved because maybe the writing style was different for this part, in some of the JoJo's tropes we've come to expect are not present on the story, and etc. But I couldn't have been more wrong. This JoJo's Part 7 is the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure part can get. The adventure, the fights, the camaraderie between our main cast, everything you've come to expect from a JoJo's part is present in this story, and it is heightened to the 11th degree, and it's absolutely fantastic, on the surface at least. But if you look beneath the surface, you can see that this JoJo's parts is a tad bit different, and one of the ways it is different is that in the previous JoJo's parts, the main characters are the ones who are influencing the world, while in this one, the world is influencing our main character Johnny, and that is mainly through his friend Gyro. Also, the antagonist and protagonist dynamic is switched in this one a bit, like our MC Johnny is doing the things he's doing out of self-interest, while our antagonist Funny Valentine is doing the things he's doing for altruistic reasons. But that is not to say Johnny is evil and Valentine is a good guy. If you judge them on a micro scale, it is very evident who is a good person and who is a bad person. When it comes to the adventure, this is a cross-country horse race that spans from San Diego, California to New York City, and it's not like it's a straight path. The path includes going to Michigan around the Great Lakes, and this is the craziest Hirohiko Araki has gone when it comes to the scale of the adventure since JoJo's Part 3, and I absolutely love it. I know some people who weren't into JoJo's Part 4 Diamond is Unbreakable because the adventure was constricted to a single city, even though it didn't matter, and that story still is goated and has my boy Kira Yoshikage. So for the people who love the adventure in JoJo's, Part 7 is going to hit like crack. And the thing that struck me the most about JoJo's Part 7 was the camaraderie and brotherhood between Gyro Pele and Johnny Joestar. In many of your JoJo's parts, you've got your various misfits coming together and forming this camaraderie between them to fight for a certain cause, like how Old Man Joseph Joestar, Jotaro Kujo, Polnareff, Abdul, and Kakyoin, or in Diamond is Unbreakable with Josuke, Koichi, and Oikatsu, and many more, but none of them are as good as Gyro's and Johnny's friendship. Not because the other ones were written poorly, but Araki went to the next level when writing Gyro's and Johnny's friendship, especially when you have Johnny, this crippled guy who's looking for something in life that gives him a purpose, and you've got Gyro who in a way helps him every time Johnny and Gyro get caught in some stand trap, and Gyro gives Johnny some weird abstract advice to help him figure things out. It's like crack. I love it. You've got great protagonists in Gyro Pele and Johnny. I like the whole internal struggle that Gyro goes through because he's doing this race for a noble cause to save an innocent boy, and he's going against his father's teachings to do this. In terms of personal motivation and character depth, I feel like Gyro alongside Johnny might be the best written JoJo's protagonist characters. We also have Johnny, who was a former racer and happened to be crippled due to unfortunate circumstances and is trying to find new meaning in his life by following in the steps of Gyro, both literally and metaphorically. And following this duo and the bonds they come to form is simply put amazing. In the scenes where Gyro was facing Ringo Rodriguez, one of the antagonists I really like by the way, he was told by him after severely wounding him and Johnny that he doesn't find him worth killing and he was looking down on him, and Gyro overcoming this man who did look down upon him, coupled with Ringo's flashback, made that an intense fight with emotional weight attached to it. It was great. There are a lot of intense fights in part 7, and Ringo Rodriguez's fight with Gyro was one of my favorites. There are some fights that even rivals the Doppio and Metallica fight in part 5, or dare I say even surpasses them. That's how insane this part is. One of my favorite moments in the story was during the final moments of the third stage of the race, where there is a lake between the finishing line and the racers, and their only option is to go around the lake. Gyro, being Gyro, does the unexpected and decides to go through the lake, and then Johnny tells Gyro to stop and consider things more rationally and to progress incrementally instead of doing his crazy stunts during races. He implicitly calls him a spoiled kid, and when Gyro crosses the lake and Johnny takes the flat land route, which was safer, and Johnny wins, his point gets proven and Gyro considers Johnny's comments. This is a very important life lesson to take away, because even in real life, most of us want the quick fix. We want the route that would get us results immediately. This is not all bad, except for the fact that most things in life don't work that way. You have to make consistent small changes in your life to improve in whatever you're trying to do. The drastic actions that Gyro took in crossing the lake reminds me of how people feel the gym during the beginning of every year, and as we get deeper into the year, most of them quit. That's because they amped up the intensity and tried to do more, such as doing 100 push-ups in your first day of working out. That's good and all, but realistically it's not sustainable. It's better to do 5 push-ups per day. This is more realistic and you can do it more consistently and improve incrementally, like how Johnny stated to Gyro. There are small bits of moments like this between Gyro and Johnny, and again, I love it. Also, the Lucy Steele plotline was so suspenseful, I can't even describe it. I know there are some Steel Ball fans who don't like this part of the story, but I enjoyed it. Eavesdropping on Valentine and his henchmen, then narrowly escaping when Mountain Team rescues her, then she finds the spine of the corpse, then we see Dio, Gyro, Johnny, and the henchman's perspective all converging. Man, was this part of the story good. Also, I like the fact that in chapter 43 now, it is Johnny who has a problem and Gyro is the one who helps him to solve it. We get to see a flashback of Johnny as a kid that explains his relationship with his dad and his late brother. Johnny's brother was a kind and talented guy that was beloved by everyone and a horse racing prodigy as well, and after some series of events, Johnny's brother dies in an accident which Johnny blames himself for, because the accident was caused by a mice that rattled Johnny's brother Nicholas's horse, and Johnny was supposed to have killed that mice. We see a quarrel between Johnny and his dad, who hasn't gotten over the brother's Nicholas's death and says he wished Johnny was the one who died instead of his brother. Sheesh, that's tough. This creates a massive emotional wound in Johnny, who still hasn't gotten over his traumatic experience. There are many characters with this type of hard-hitting flashbacks, and it's great. And Gyro and him battling Sandman, the Native American contestant, and Gyro explaining to him the golden rotation was a blast to watch. And I've got to say, Sandman dying and his last wishes being for his sister's well-being was touching. And man, I like Sandman. Sad that he died. Also, when it comes to humor, chapter 46, where Johnny and Gyro had to spend their money in a single day or else they turned into fruits, was one of the funniest chapters of JoJo's in recent memory. Seeing them trying to lose all that money, like buying a building and the land, and then them getting even more money from the tenants of that building, and also the land they bought having resources that can be mined, all those things were really hilarious. I really had a good time with it. Also, the gunfight in the casino that followed follows with the 11 men was so action-packed, it was awesome. And also I like to touch upon the reason Johnny is trying to find the corpse. Finding the corpse is a very personal one for him. It makes him feel alive again after the miserable life he was living, and him giving up the 2 ears and right arm of the corpse in chapter 48 was a huge moment for him, and this types of character moment I really dig in stories. One of my favorite fights in Steel Ball Run was when Diego and Wicca People and President Valentine first time clashing. It was such a great sequence because at first we see Johnny and Gyro trying to track Dio down, but then Gyro gets entangled into a stand fight with XY homing guy. But the interesting part was the intrigue of who shot Johnny, because while this fight was going on, someone had shot Johnny. After Gyro finishes his fight and asks the people who witnessed it, they give conflicting answers. One guy says it's Dio, the other says it's Wicca People, and the old man painter says it was Valentine. And it was when we saw what actually happened that my mind was blown away. We see the perspective of both Dio and Wicca People, and it gets revealed that they both shot him, but in reality it was Valentine's stand ability Mason Wisdom. This was one of the most I've ever been intrigued by stand ability, and man was this part of the story just brilliant. President Valentine's ability has to be one of the trippiest abilities in JoJo's, even more than part 5 both stand ability King Crimson, and it is so fun to follow, like how in the final arc when Diego and Hot Pants were chasing the train Valentine and Lucy Steele were on, and you think you're following the original Dio and Hot Pants, but next chapter it gets revealed it was from the perspective of the other worlders, Dio and Hot Pants. What a fun stand ability to follow as a reader. Also, like I said before, I really like the backstories and motivations of some of the characters in Steel Ball Run have. Dio's reasoning for wanting the corpse was to exact his revenge in the world for what he and his mom endured when he was a child and gained power over the masses as a result, while Hot Pants wanted to return the corpse to the Vatican in order to rid the guilt of abandoning her brother and letting him die. Araki said that this story was about characters trying to go home physically and metaphorically, and he said Mountain Tim achieved it. Mountain Tim being the sheriff cowboy dude who helped Lucy Steele get away. I interpret it as characters having closure before they die, like them dying fulfilled is them going home. For Gyro, it's a physical thing like going back to Italy and freeing the innocent boy. Speaking of Gyro, I like the sudden wisdom he brings up to Johnny from time to time, because you look at his personality and you don't expect that sort of thing from him. No doubt about it, he has great battle IQ as many JoJo's characters do, but the way he motivates Johnny with his wisdom each time Johnny has a crisis is wonderful to watch. Now I have to talk about Funny Valentine, the main antagonist of the story. He is such an interesting villain. When he and Lucy met to go to the train in chapter 82 after he saved Lucy Steele, who was turning into the corpse, he didn't kill Mr. Steele, honoring his word, and this surprised me. Valentine spared his life because he had promised Lucy Steele not to touch him, but he was mad so he inflicted pain on him. He is still human even though he has acquired godlike powers. He tries to act just as a higher entity would by honoring his promise, but alas, he is a human, so he slips up and resorts to torture instead. This was a fascinating thing to me while I was reading. Also, I have to see the part where Valentine tries to negotiate with Johnny and make him believe that he wouldn't hurt him if he helped him stop the dimensional rotation effect that Johnny did to him. That part was so fascinating because I believe the president would have kept his word, but alas, he had a different gun, showing us that a promise kept might not hold much weight if it's from a person like the president. I also liked when Johnny was chasing the resurrected Dio and he meets his father's eye in the crowd, who was holding his deceased son's boots and cheering on Johnny, and he regrets how he has treated Johnny all this time, with how he asked God that why he didn't take Johnny instead of the elder son. That scene was so good. When people told me that this JoJo's part 7 was the best part, and also I was seeing it as the second best manga of all time in many manga reading sites such as My Anime List and Anime List, I thought this was the case because this JoJo's part did something different compared to the other JoJo's part that came before it. I thought it was some sort of deconstruction of the JoJo story story, and that's why it was popular. But I was mistaken. This JoJo's part was as JoJo's as any JoJo part could get. It was your traditional JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. You've got your character poses, the absurdity of your typical JoJo's dialogue is there. Also, the power system is the same, which is stands. Nothing was different, except for this time everything is enhanced to a 9 out of 10, a 9.5 out of 10, or a 10 out of 10. All the things you expect from a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is there, except, as I said before, subtextually things are different. For me, the character arcs of the MC and the protagonist Johnny and Gyro is the best, better than any JoJo's part I've experienced so far, but I haven't read JoJo Leon and JoJo Lance yet though. The character-driven story, the antagonist, the adventure, overall coupled with each other makes the base JoJo's part. When it comes to fights, I don't think anything is going to surpass for me the Risotto and Doppio fight in part 5, but every fight involving Valentine and the fight between Gyro and Ringo Road again came pretty close. Aside from that, man, did this part live up to the hype. I also loved the fact that the reason the president wanted Dio to have the corpse was because he believed Dio would keep it in the country. He didn't want the corpse to leave the country. The ending of JoJo's Part 7 kind of felt abrupt to me, but I guess it was because the final battle spanned a lot of chapters, so the actual ending of it had me like, you're now going to show us Johnny meeting Gyro's family and telling them about their son, and what about the corpse? It seemed like it was implied Lucy had it. But anyways, this part was awesome, and I can see why many label it as the best part. And yeah, if you've made it this far into the video, please subscribe to the channel, it will mean a lot. And with that said, see you guys in the next one.